All right. Hello, 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 everybody. Now, I'm looking here so I can see the chat because I actually can't see it. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We are happy to have you all here on the couch with me and Tina Mo for show. Now, give me a second, Tina. I'm pulling it up on my laptop so I can actually see what you're seeing. Tina,
Yes, I'm here.
perfect, perfect. All right. Okay, so this is my first time coming on StreamYard and doing it this way. I see what's happening a little bit. I actually can't see what's happening in the chat, so I'm trusting you to handle that. Cause, and we will get started.
Absolutely.
So,
I already got it from here. Hmm.
okay, thank you, cuz. Welcome back to Two Cousins, One Couch. Thank you for all of those returning. And if you are new here, welcome. You can take a seat on the couch if that seat is not already taken. We do have a pallet on the floor. I think we might even have a little tent for it set up for some of y'all. Just get comfortable because we are stepping into our third episode, which is Who Am I? Where we are reflecting on family culture. So, if you don't know, my name is Goze. I am the oldest grandchild and granddaughter. I'm a niece, I'm a big sister, I'm a cousin, and I'm an auntie. And I move through this world highly protected and highly connected. I'm also the Black Love Permissionist, an intrapersonal and interpersonal relationship advocate. I'm a certified feminine empowerment and life coach. I'm a trauma educator. I'm a group facilitator, a newly certified restorative justice practitioner and circle keeper. I'm a cultural conversationalist. And I would like to say, in my opinion, I'm an all around dope ass individual. So we also have my cousin, Tina Mo for show. And I'm going to let you tell them about yourself because I don't think I could do you justice if I tried. Because,
Of course, I'm Tina Mo for show. Of course, they just call me Tina. I am the oldest grandchild, maternally and paternally. Um, I am, I am me. I'm a lover of the Bible, known as a Christian. Um, I am also an inspector by trade. Um, I am a woman who has a lot of opinions. I am a woman who is a niece, a daughter, a great aunt, an aunt, um, a single woman. And I go throughout this space um, as a content creator, um, and in some places, a motivational speaker. But for the most part, I'm just me, Tina Mo, and that's for sure.
for sure it is. For sure it is. So, if you're new here, just want to introduce you a little bit to our family culture. So Tina and I, we come from a talking ass family. And when we get together, we get to yapping. That's just kind of our thing. So the reason we started this show is because I personally find our conversations to be edifying and intriguing. And Tina and I tend to have very different viewpoints and even thought processes. So there's a good chance that at some point when we're talking, she gonna say up and I'm gonna say down. I'm gonna say left, she gonna say right. And I thought it would be nice to share what we have with the world in love. So usually I come here with some questions just to keep my squirrel brain grounded and focused. But just know Tina and I, we are going to get off subject, but it is always on subject because it is our nature to flow as we go. So tonight's conversation is about family culture. We're talking about the roles we inherit, the expectations we absorb, and what it looks like to come home to yourself beyond who you are expected to be, or maybe who you were expected to be, and we're still honoring where we come from. So again, pull up, chill on the couch with us, grab you some Kool-Aid. I think I got some sweet tea in the fridge, and I bought some of my oatmeal cream pies because that's one of my favorite snacks from my childhood. And we assume if you are here that you are an honorary cousin, and all honorary cousins are welcome here. So, Tina, do you remember even how we decided we were going to talk about this? I feel like we were in the middle of a conversation, and I was like, "Oh, we should talk about this," but I don't remember the conversation. Do you?
Absolutely not. If you're
Right?
talking about a conversation from a week ago or 2 weeks ago, now that I think about it, then I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Because my brain tends to squirrel itself at times. So yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either because I was trying to like pinpoint where it came from, and I can't either. But we're gonna be talking about family culture and values, and I was thinking about even like attachment styles, and just the stuff we learn from family and how those influences can run a lot deeper than I think we think about. Because I know, like in our culture, we love to act like we're just not influenced by anybody. I'm just an individual. I'm just different. I ain't like none of these niggas. I'm just over here doing my own thing, as if we just got dropped onto the planet in the middle of an empty field somewhere. And so I will say, and I think those who have popped in to listen to our show before, Tina and I really just met each other a couple years ago. And, I've often talked about for me, when I felt at home with Tina was when she started, and I don't know if this was her intention, but she started a whole debate with me about a video I posted. And when and it came out of nowhere, and I didn't even know this lady like that. And that's when I knew, oh, we blood, because her style of conversation reminded me so much of my granddaddy who had just passed, that I was like, all right, this family. And so even though we didn't grow up together at all, her grandmother is my granddaddy's sister. And I could tell immediately talking to her that we were related because we both have a certain type of it's a style, it's an approach, to communication and disagreement that was very familiar to me. So we're going to talk about a little bit more of what we learned from our families, and of course we want to hear, from y'all in the chat. So I'm just going to ask, just off the rip, I'm asking Tina, but I'm also asking the rest of y'all, what role, the main role, did you inherit in your family, whether it's spoken or unspoken?
Mm,
What role did you inherit from your family, whether it's spoken or unspoken?
protector,
Mm,
protector. That was the first thing that came to mind was my family knew that, or my immediate family especially, um, knew that I'd lay my life down, literally, um, for my family to the point where um, my loyalty to family ended up becoming quite a bit of an issue later on. But yeah, it was the thing of that willingness to go toe to toe with anyone. I am combative, uh, naturally so. Um, kind of runs in the family anyway, but it's one of those things of I was like that because of what all I had to protect and who all I had to protect. So that's what I had initially and succinctly been known for, being a protector.
Mm, you know what? I was sitting here thinking, because I know we have some similarities there, but I was like,
Hmm.
that word protector isn't necessarily hitting for me, but that makes perfect sense for you,
Hmm.
especially with us both being like the eldest, we're the eldest grandchildren. So
Hmm.
coming to earth with responsibility already just kind of built into the life. It's like, oh, I just got here. My diaper ain't even fully changed, but I'm already doing
Hmm.
work. So I'm
Yeah.
hearing that. I'm hearing that. Ooh.
Yeah,
I
there
was
are even
also, mhm.
stories. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you good, cuz. Flow with it.
I just can remember being told stories of how when my sister was a baby, um, if I was given a cookie, I would go back and ask for a cookie for the baby. And so, but
Hmm.
of course, I don't remember none of that. All I remember is war and arguing. But earliest of days that others have told about me, I always was trying to look out for and protect the needs of others.
Mm. Yep, that makes sense to me. I think if I think about mine, I think I was being groomed to be mother
Hmm.
probably around the age of 4.
Mm, that's
Yeah, and I
interesting.
mean, and I think I always had kind of some maternal, instincts, but not like, not, I mean, obviously, or for people who don't know, I don't have any children and won't have any children. But when I think about my childhood, I was already like nurturing and caring for people and managing, other people's emotions. I was already overly responsible, helpful, reliable. I was already learning how to be a quote unquote good listener very young. And I think that started probably, yeah, when I think about it, probably around the age of 4. And it continued. I mean, phew, I'm still trying to shake that one, right? It got to the point where even as an adult, my mother saw me as her mom, and she would buy me Mother's Day gifts and cards and things, even as I got older. But she would always say that I was more of a mother to her than she was to me. So yeah, I think mother's been, and I didn't even think about that until you said protector. Wow.
Hmm.
What about y'all in the chat? What role or roles, because it doesn't have to be one thing, but what did y'all grow up being told you were, or even if you weren't, if it wasn't explicitly spoken, what role did you play in your family? Or do you play in your family?
I don't know if there was any other role that I can remember early on. I
Mhm.
know that one specifically stood out the most. Um,
Mhm.
and that I still find myself in those roles at times, um,
Mhm.
depending on the situation. Um, but that has been almost a lifestyle, so to speak,
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
always being in different places, um, wearing the role of protector, no matter where I was. And I think about that as it relates to the different places that I've been in. um, that there was always a thing of desiring to be there for people, regardless to whether I was around family or not. If I was in the mix, there was somebody that was going to be, I'm going to make sure that I take care of them in the space.
Yep. I could see that all day. And from what I know of you, right, that makes perfect sense to me. And it was making me think, about what they call eldest daughter syndrome,
Mhm.
and how that shows up in Black communities. And both of us are the eldest daughters, and we're the first grandchildren.
Mhm.
And it makes, all of that to me is like a pipeline into the strong Black woman phenomenon that we like to talk about. It's a stereotype, but oftentimes we're handed that role early on, right? Like
Mhm.
it's being projected onto us, whether we're that or not. Before we even get a chance to even figure out what strong is, somebody's already deciding these things for us. And then they put responsibility on you early. Like I remember being 4, and it's such a clear memory for me. And this is gonna sound silly, but I'm little and I had a bowl of corn, and I had a baby brother, so he's about 2, and he had a plate of corn, and I'm eating my corn, happy dance. And when I got done, you know how you got the little juice at the bottom of the bowl? I
Mhm.
tipped up my bowl, drank the little juice left in my bowl, and I'm feeling good. My baby brother looked at me, and then he did the same thing with his plate and tossed all the corn in his lap.
Mm.
And then my dad snapped on me. You know he gonna do whatever you do, and why would you do something like that? Now, of course, I'm 4. Now, clearly, if I'm doing it, I've done this many times. It's a bowl, whatever's left in the bottom of the bowl, whether it's cereal milk or whatever, you drink it. But
Mhm.
because I was already getting groomed, right? I'm the oldest. There's an expectation that I'm supposed to already anticipate what could happen around me. I'm supposed to already know that this little boy is going to look up to me and do everything I do. Of course, I don't know that, right? I'm just
Mhm.
living just off reflex. And it was so shocking to me that I got in trouble for it that it took me a long time to even understand what was going on, because they were already putting that kind of responsibility on me, right? I'm the eldest daughter syndrome, not and that mothering thing, right? This little person is looking up to you, so you should already be mindful of your 4-year-old behavior for him, easing you through that strong Black woman stereotype. I think, it's like a pipeline to get there. Like you have to already be overthinking. You cannot think about just you. You have to be thinking about somebody else.
I think that many times, what tends to fall on your lap is the fact that you got here before everyone else. And so you're the first one to get the lessons. You're the first ones that the knowledge has been passed down to, before anyone else can get there. And I think a lot of times in that, a lot of responsibility falls upon you because you know more or you know better, as some would say. And I think about that like, it's not like everyone has been raised in a situation where it was someone else's responsibility to take care of the children in the home or take care of, others in the home. A lot of times it's just about who was available at the time, who was the most responsible at the time. And even as children, you learn, especially about being a firstborn, and in addition to that first grandchild, there's a lot of history that you're given that everyone else may not even have. It's a lot of history that you end up living through, that other people don't even get the opportunity to see. Other family members don't get to see because you were there first.
I think you bring up a great point, because I think a lot of first children, especially if your parents are kind of young when they have you, you're growing up with the parents. They haven't tested out any of their parenting strategies on anybody. They don't even have a parenting strategy. They just coming in, just trying to make it, and you're right there, just trying to make it right by them. And they're figuring out stuff by making mistakes on you. And
Hmm.
and so I think, a lot of times, especially if you're the first daughter, you end up doing a lot of emotional labor for the family. And this happens with, the firstborn sons too, where there's this expectation that, hey, you the third parent. I don't know what you
Mm,
think this is, but you have
mhm,
a job. I don't care if you still in that pull up. I don't care if you still in kindergarten. Get to work. You clock it in.
mhm, mhm. I think about quite often how um, my sisters and I have a different um, vantage point as it pertains to the things that we saw, the things that we understood. Um, I had a conversation with my baby sister not long ago, and she was saying that there was a lot that she didn't remember. Even though she was there, she was young, but it was a lot that she was shielded from because, of course, uh, me and the middle sister are closer in age than she is because there's over a decade of distance in ages between the two of us, the three of us rather. And because of that, there were things that she just didn't even understand, didn't know, didn't experience, didn't see, and don't does not do not remember. She doesn't remember any of those things. And I thought back, I was like, wow, as I listened to her talk about how it's a lot of stuff that she does not recall. And I thought about how well we tried our best to shield her from any of the things that we were experiencing coming up. Because me and, well, I'm gonna speak for myself. I was a wild one when I was younger. I may not have come across that wild because I was respectful. Because, of course, that I got that Southern yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And because I was able to speak with a tone that most adults could, um, they didn't mind. I wasn't necessarily seen as the bad kid, but I actually was doing more than my younger sister was, my younger sibling. And she got in trouble quite a bit, but that was mostly because I just wasn't getting caught. I knew how to turn on the flashlight on what she had going on. And in some instances, some people would say, oh, well, you were being smart. When in fact, I don't know if I was smart so much as it was sneaky. I learned how to get around certain things being the oldest child because I had seen it before and I knew what the outcome would be.
And then I would be careful even to call it sneaky, right? Just because it has a certain connotation to it. I feel like you had already learned strategies to survive that your sister had not learned yet.
Well, I can't say everything was about survival. I might have been trying to negate a whooping, because that's what they was issuing back in the day. I was negating or trying to navigate around a scolding for something I knew I had no business. Because it would be different if I was just surviving. And I had those moments where I'm trying to survive. Maybe an abusive situation or whatnot, because I had those when I was coming up. But there was a completely different, another side where I was determined to do what I wanted to do. Um, and what I wanted to do was absolutely nothing I was supposed to be doing. And with that, as you say, strategy, I learned how to be sneaky, skillful, stealthy with my strategies.
I feel that. Um, okay, then I have a question for you. How do
Mhm.
you think that your family culture shaped your personality?
I learned how to mask emotion. I learned how to use humor. And at the height of emotion. And when I say emotion, I mean like tears, sadness, um, maybe even depression. I just learned how to mask those things because at the end of the day, you can't be crying and protecting someone at the same time. You have to stay vigilant. You have to stay aware. And so, if anything, I learned hypervigilance and I learned how to bury my emotions for the most part.
Wouldn't that be okay? So since you wasn't doing it for survival, why are we burying emotions? Because
Now, there's a difference between burying emotions for survival versus I'm trying to hide a thing that I'm trying to get away with.
hmm
That I know that may be salacious in nature or um, um, maybe something that I know would, give me, and when I say get in trouble, I mean something that would be dangerous even to my own life,
hmm
or something illegal. I mean, I did a lot when I was a kid, so it was one of
hmm
those things. I just learned how to have a whole nother life outside of the home life,
hmm
and uh, learn how to navigate living in more than one space, more than one way.
hmm I hear that. So, how would you describe your personality?
That's a great question. Mm, I would say as I age, I think I'm a bit more sentimental. Um, I'm quite a bit of a softie because I'm not in as many. I don't take on as many roles as it pertains to caring for others or protecting others. That doesn't mean I don't have any. It's just I don't take on a lot, or as many as I had in the past. With that being said, um, I'm not sure. It can vary because for the most part, it depends on who I'm dealing with. I'm only close to who I'm close to. I can be very closed off, but I can be very open. So it is all of it is situational for me.
So selective.
Very selective. Very.
hmm Would you say cautious?
Always cautious.
hmm
That's even with those that I'm open with. There's still a area of caution.
hmm hmm I hear that. I was
Yeah, I
thinking
still
about.
walk the tightrope of um divulging what I want to divulge, sharing what I want to, when I want to. Um and not so I can necessarily be hiding from people. It's just that who are you to know? Oh well, now part of my character that I have an issue with is I'm a little arrogant. I'm a little arrogant. I could come across as prideful. That is one of the areas in which I struggle. I would like to be a lot more humble, but it's not the easiest thing for me to navigate. Um, and not saying that I want to be run over, like a rug or a carpet or what have you, but it's more so one of those things of you get strength from me first before you get weakness.
Wait, okay, that was a lot. Hold on, hold on. So you said you described yourself as a little arrogant, and then you said you come across prideful.
hmm
I'm
I
I'm
do.
interested in that because on one hand you're saying that you think you're arrogant, and then you're saying you come across private. When I hear, I mean prideful, when I hear come across, I'm thinking this is how people read you. So are you saying that people are reading you correctly?
In some instances, yes. I mean, I'm not oblivious to the fact that I'm not oblivious to the fact that I can come across as arrogant to some people or prideful to some people. That's not something that I am fully aware of. In some instances. Now, it all depends on how a person sees me, the relationship
Mhm.
that they have with me, because it doesn't always come up like that, or I don't always come across in that fashion, in that way. But I know it's there. I know it's not something. Um, it's not something that I can say I'm proud of. But I do know it's an area in which I struggle. And so if a person does see that about me, I mean, I can't sit here and act like, no, I'm the most humble person you'd ever meet. No, I'm not that. I'm not that at all.
What's arrogant? Just so we can be in agreement, because I don't know if I would describe you this way. So
Mm.
I'm letting you take full responsibility for your self descriptions. Just out of curiosity, though, what is arrogant?
Um, self-grandizement, seeing yourself as over, above, superior to. Now, I believe that's the
Superior to
definition.
other people?
Other people's thoughts, opinions, what have, yeah, essentially.
Okay, gotcha. And so then you said, uh, and I'm just going off of what you said. ah, you said that, dang it, the squirrel got it. It was right there too, because I was really getting ready to ask you a question. Okay, well, we got lucky because my brain lost it. Okay, but you would say that that's a big part of, oh, strength. You said that people see strength before they see weakness. Do you think arrogance is strength?
Arrogance, I believe, is a show of strength. It is a show of, it's the flexing of the muscles. It is a swelling of oneself in the presence of others. And so it's a almost a I can do it or can't nobody do it better than me type attitude.
Okay, so I got a question. I love where this is going. And see, this is probably why I don't know if I see you in this way, but again, you're in charge of your own self description. Um, so I'm of the belief, right? Because I
Okay.
don't personally uh I don't personally identify as arrogant, right? But we do come from a certain family culture.
Yes,
And
Lord. Hmm.
I feel like we're right now we're in it. We've just bumped up against a certain part of our family culture, right? And I think that part of our family culture is a little on the cocky side, right? And I
Hmm.
say, and when I
Absolutely.
use cocky, I don't think that cocky is necessarily arrogant, right? But I do think there's some flexing in there. When you're dealing with cockiness, in my opinion, cockiness is it's a little showy, right? It's a little showy, it's a little telly, it's a show and tell kind of thing. But you can only show and tell what you got. This is how I look at it. To me, is it arrogant if I'm not exaggerating the importance? What if I really am who the fuck I say I am? Am I arrogant for flexing the muscles that are there? That I didn't make up the muscles, I didn't put on a muscle suit. They're my muscles. So if I'm flexing them, they're there. What's wrong with flexing your shit? To me, you know what I'm saying? That's not arrogant. I tend to think that when we're talking about arrogance, we're talking about something that ain't there. We're talking about having to make up a little bit. It ain't just show and tell. It's, my daddy be hanging out with two chains and your daddy ain't never met one chain. You know what I mean? Like there's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of there's a little bit of insincerity there. I'm, like you said, self-aggrandizing. I'm making myself out to be more than I really am. Now I feel you when you said the whole looking down on people
Hmm.
or seeing yourself as better than, but where I would offer the pushback and see, we come from a competitive family. And
Hmm.
so I know that
It's
I'm a
happening right
competitive
now.
girl,
Uh-huh.
right?
Hmm.
But I would say, if it's true, can it be if I am actually better than you at something, right?
Hmm.
Is it arrogant for me to just acknowledge the truth? Where I come from, just maybe the way I was raised and the part of the family tree that I stem from, right? With my little leaf over here, we don't call it arrogance over here. We just call it the truth.
Hmm. You ready for
So,
my answer?
of course,
Oh, I thought you was gonna add something to that.
no, I think That's just kind of where I'm at. So when I'm hearing it, of course, for me,
Hmm.
unless there is some falsehood in there,
Hmm.
when you're saying something to me. And this is probably why I don't spend a lot of time calling a lot of people arrogant unless I know they just phony kicking it. And then for me, if you are phony kicking it, or if you are making yourself out to be bigger than you are, I'm cool. Like usually I'm probably gonna back off a little bit because to me arrogance is flimsy. It don't take much. You shine a little light on arrogance and somebody finna fold. So I tend to get uncomfortable when I'm around people who are arrogant because
Hmm.
I know it's flimsy. I know if I push up against it even a little bit, it's going to be a problem. And I really don't like to expose people like that. I'm just sensitive to that kind of thing. I'd be like, you know what, they probably needed that, so I'm gonna let them have it, right? But I know if I go up against something and it's not flimsy and it's just gonna stand there as it is, to me, I'm testing the integrity of it. And once I see, oh no, they really are who they say they are, and they just standing on that shit and they don't mind talking about it, especially a black woman, I'm like, for me, you earn my respect. And I ain't never ever gonna call nobody arrogant for just saying it like they meant it, standing on it. To me, that's just my kind of people. So yeah, I'm very interested to hear, because I know you have you have your viewpoints on these things, and I'm open to hearing them.
I most certainly have a completely, and let me say this before I even go into all of this. I have tried my best to acknowledge all of you all that are in the chats. Welcome. But if you can hear anything, you hear the hoarseness in my voice. It's not as clear as it normally is. As a matter of fact, I'm talking in a lower register, so my words can come out a little clearer. So if my voice sounds a little deeper than normal, it is because I am hoarse. But with that said, one thing that I can say is we come from two different strains of thought um, as it pertains to arrogance. Now, when it comes to me, I think that the difference is it is not um, it conflicts with my core belief system. It conflicts with that which I believe to be right and that which is the character in which I would prefer to emulate versus what I've used at times to get by or what I've used as a means to allow or let a person know that I'm the one for the job or I'm the one and not the two. Um, with that being the case, and yes, Simply Sunshine, I most certainly believe in resting my voice, and I will be resting my voice probably no time soon, but I will be giving it some rest pretty soon, even if I don't drink any tea. Um, but what I was going to say is when it comes to what I believe about arrogance and what I believe about pride, I don't necessarily believe that it's a thing of um, I I should be boastful. I can have confidence without making someone else feel less than. You may not have felt that coming from me because um, that may not necessarily be an area in which you've been challenged, at least from me. But those who have experienced it, they have experienced it from me legitimately. And those times I've had to reel it back at times. I've had to pause for a moment, go back and apologize. Um, Not in the thing of, oh, you're just being yourself, but more so in the thing of, no, I'm trying to upstage someone. I'm trying to let a person know, hey, I'm better than you. And not better than you as in um, my life is grander or, or anything of a superficial nature, but it's more so along the things of what I have to say counts more than what you have to say. What the opinions that I have are which are strong and right. That would be me trying to push my agenda, my thoughts, my beliefs on someone else. There have been times where I've had conversations where I've come across arrogant as it pertains to what I believe in. And even if that person doesn't check me, I can feel a check on the inside that I would have pushed too far or gone too far as it pertains to um, trying to let somebody know what I know or trying to express myself in a way where it either goes over an individual's head or it makes them feel less than in my presence. Um, and so when it comes to that, I know that it can derive from either I feel challenged in a way that I don't prefer to be challenged, and so that'll be my response at times. In for lack of better terms, I can become triggered and become arrogant because of the trigger. But for the most part, I can say that now I don't have a problem with a person being confident, but arrogance is not necessarily a thing of um, there's some sort of falsehood necessarily. And I'm just speaking from what I believe as it pertains to arrogance and pride. I don't think it's a thing of you're not who you say you are. It's about how you present yourself and how you treat others because of how you present yourself. And that is what I want to nip in the bud. I don't want to be overbearing, argumentative, or combative with an individual just to show them I'm better than them, stronger than them, can go longer than them, or whatever it is. Pause.
Okay, so I hear you. I feel you. Um, and if I had more energy, I'd probably argue more. But what I would say is, I do think that saying, "Hey, I want to work on not being argumentative, not trying to belittle other people," because that's kind of how I'm taking what you're saying.
Hmm.
Um, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to make the people who I'm talking to feel respected. I'm doing everything in my power to manage my triggers. Like I respect that. I
Hmm.
think where I'm not really over there with you fully is, when I hear like when I get triggered, I get arrogant. I'm like, just the way my mind works. I'm like, when you get triggered, you're gonna go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So it sounds like when you get triggered, you go into fight. I don't
Hmm.
know if I would label a just a phenomenon that's happening inside your body, which is a trauma response, right? Because that's all a trigger is, as arrogant. I think that's putting a little bit too much morality, right, on
But that's my
trauma.
stand. I still have a moral compass
Right, but we're
that
talking about
lets me.
trauma. Trauma don't care about morals. We talking about what's scientifically happening in the body. That's the thing. I feel like you're jumping into a label where a label don't belong.
And all I'm saying as it pertains to that is if I feel like I do not like what someone is saying,
Of course.
and they say something that rubs me the wrong way, I'm going to respond to it in a way that is going to belittle them, depending on the situation. It may not be every person gets that from me, but there
Right.
have been individuals that once they cross a certain line, now you're going to see a different side of me. Now you
Mhm.
get to see the arrogance. Now you get to see the pride come forth. Because it's not a thing where, oh, I'm presenting in this fashion with everyone in every situation, because
Mhm.
that's not the case. Um, but there are times where, and I'm aware of it, like, oh, you want to go there? Here I go then. And
Mhm.
once I take on that attitude, it is strictly arrogant,
Mhm.
strictly prideful. I'm letting you know I'm trying to read you as best as I can, and I don't want to be
Mhm.
like that. I don't want to continue in
Mhm.
that way.
No, I feel that. I feel that all day. And I mean, taking responsibility for yourself is big. But then you said something else that made me think, right? Because again, in the big conversation, we're talking about the roles that we take on in our families, right? And I'm never going to
Mm,
stand in the way of somebody wanting to better themselves, first of all. And personally, whether I share the same religious viewpoints as you or not, I'm always going to be on the side of a person trying to better themselves. But if we're talking about the roles that we inherit in our family, right? And then
mm,
you're like, hey, I don't want to make a person feel something. To me, anytime I start hearing that language of I made somebody feel or I don't want to make a person feel, then I'm already thinking about what was the role you said you have to play, right? Protector. So then protector is already carrying the responsibility of I am supposed to be bigger than other people. I am supposed to be protective. I am supposed to be strong. I am supposed to present a certain type of way. And now we end up carrying responsibilities for stuff that ain't our responsibility because, from where I stand, you can't make a person feel nothing. A person's emotions are a person's emotions. Can we impact them? Absolutely. Can we influence them? For sure. But making a person feel, nah, like I'm not carrying that around because you don't have any control over what somebody else feels.
I must interject because I think it's almost arguing semantics. Me saying I'm trying to make a person feel a certain way is me trying to use my words to influence a particular reaction or response to the things that I'm saying to them in the fashion in which I desire.
Okay. Well, since we're interjecting, I'm gonna interject because nigga, we not arguing semantics. And I love how you like to go there every time I'm actually focusing in on something that's important that you don't think is important. So again, we're not arguing semantics. We're talking about the importance of the nuance in this kind of conversation because we're both sitting up here saying that we inherited some roles in our family, right? Roles that aren't necessarily beneficial to us at this age. So if we're
Mhm.
both accepting that there was some responsibility handed down to us that did not necessarily feel good, right? And we are learning how to become more of who we actually are or coming home to ourselves, some of that comes in the language that we use. And so I'm not the type of person to sit over here and overlook certain things like that. Because if you're a person telling me that you had to be bigger than big already, you came out having to be the protector, having to play a role, and then now it's, ooh, I have to watch who I am, how big I get, what words I say. And again, I'm never going to stand in the way of you trying to make yourself better, but I am saying I see a through line, right? This, ooh, if I get too big, then who needs to be protected from me? So yeah, I'm poking at it, not for semantics sake, but because it's actually something in there because I'm listening to you.
What I would say to that is, um, in the things that I was taught, some of the principles I can still say that I ascribe to a certain degree. Um, Now, were they taught properly? I don't think so. As it pertains to the principles I'm able to extract from those experiences, I think there were some good principles, but that would take an individual maturing to the point where they can see the principle in the experiences in the first place, because giving information to a child and how a child takes on something, or expresses their understanding about something versus an individual that is mature or has matured to some degree to be able to look back at what they've been taught and scrutinize it properly, then you're talking about being able to take what I've learned in one season, apply it in another season with the understanding I have now, versus doing it out of this is what I was told to do, and this was um this was my interpretation of what was told to me.
Felt. Just for everybody who just got here, make yourself at home. I think the couch might be full, but you can probably squeeze up in there if you're real small, got some small hips, not like me. Uh, Take a seat on the floor. We got a pallet for you. We welcome in all our honorary cousins who just got here. We are in the middle of having a conversation slash difference of opinions, talking
Mhm.
about the roles that we inherit in our family, whether they are spoken or unspoken. And we've been talking about how family culture shapes our personality. So, one of the personality traits that Tina spoke on was arrogance. And I don't necessarily know if I would describe her in that way, but she describes herself in that way. And she probably would describe me in that way. And I don't necessarily believe that about myself. But, we talking about it right now. So y'all feel free to jump in, say what y'all's thoughts are. What is arrogance as y'all see it? What's the difference between standing on business, flexing because you got it like that, and being arrogant? Is there a difference? We want to hear from our honorary cousins. Um, but now I'm thinking about it, right? I asked you how do you think our family culture shaped your personality?
Mm.
And I'm thinking about how it shaped mine. So, for those of you who just got here, my granddaddy is the brother to Tina's grandmother. And so when I listen to Tina talk, especially about like what she's learned from her grandmother and her mother down, um, it's really interesting because it's very similar to what I was taught as a child, even though we didn't know each other growing up. And so my granddaddy is the older brother to your grandmother, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like even though we got a very similar grooming, I got a slightly different grooming because of who the patriarch was.
Hmm.
And my granddaddy is, cocky for sure. Um, I don't know if I would describe Oliver as arrogant, just in my opinion. Um, but I'm sure there are people who probably would. Um, I found his I found him to be big on truth, big on understanding what he was talking about before he opened his mouth. Or if he didn't know, he's going to change the subject so we can get to something. So competition for sure. He's very competitive, and my dad was, and that definitely came down to me. So growing up with my dad, I learned how to debate early in life. I learned how to debate with my granddaddy early in life. So I spent a good chunk of my childhood arguing for my life with my dad and my granddad. And I think when you're a little girl, especially a little black girl, and you grow up arguing with grown men about all kinds of things, you develop a different kind of relationship with communication. And for me, that was just fun, right? It was just banter. It's just we're trading ideas, we're going back and forth. You better have your points ready. You better be able to support what you're saying, because they're going to come back at you just as hard as you're coming at them. So I learned some communication strategies that I think more little black girls should get, and even more little black boys, right? Because the world is doing everything they can to silence us, and to force us into what I consider false humility, which is now I gotta make myself smaller. I gotta shrink myself so other people can be comfortable, which really doesn't get you anywhere in the world, right? I mean, it might keep you fake safe, um, but I believe that I benefited greatly from having men in my life who encouraged me to speak my mind. And even though I will admit, right, I say I got a little bit of a cocky expression at times. I personally, for me, if I were to describe my personality, I would say my personality is, for the most part, direct. I would say strategic. Um, I would say um, free spirited. There's a part of me that I need to be able to move. But I also, because I grew up in a military family, I have respect for structure. I like systems, I like structure, and all of these are inherited from my granddaddy. Because all he would talk about is you need to get yourself organized, you need to get yourself a system. And I heard get yourself organized, get yourself a system so many times in my life that literally that's one of the things I do. I design systems, right, to help people relate better. So I definitely think, that was, um, it could have been part nature, but it was definitely nurtured into me. It was impressed upon me earlier. Learn how to speak up for yourself, learn how to use your voice to get you where you want to go in life, learn how to have stamina if you're going to say what you said, be willing to back it up at all costs. And to me, these qualities or skills or strategies have helped me in life. I think I would have gotten run over early in life if I didn't have them. And so I'm always looking for ways to refine that part of me. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to lean more into that. I want, I want to be real comfortable in full flex whenever I feel the need. It don't bother me not one bit, and I like to be around people who um, who move in that way. And I don't enjoy being around people because I think about what you said, right, about people who might be having some issues with feeling good in themselves and in their bodies because of the things that they've gone through. Um, I spent so much time as a child being the person who was considering everyone all the time that I think early on in life, um, I had too many fucks to give, still do, right? And I never seem to run out of fucks to give, right? I tend to get them delivered at my doorstep every day. Like, how the postman just gonna drop that mail off, rain, snow, sleet. Whoever is delivering these extra fucks, like they gonna find me. If I'm stranded in the desert, a helicopter is gonna drop some down on me. And it's kind of wild to me how it is. So I think as I've gotten older, because I took on so much responsibility for yeah, until yesterday, right? Because it's a daily challenge for me. I think being a child who was told, hey, you have to think about everybody else. Oh, that kid doesn't have any toys and you have toys. And now I'm getting in trouble for something I didn't even do. I have learned to be so overly responsible for everyone all the time. And then the religion that I grew up in had me so extra responsible for everyone. I'm like, nah, nope. I'm putting some of this down. A lot of this ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not carrying it. When I see myself carrying it, I'm like, get it up off me. That's for them. That's not for me. Um, so yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't even describe my personality in a negative way because I don't think it's anything negative about my personality. It's just my expression. It's just how I show up.
Mhm.
I do have a question though. So we were talking about survival earlier. So what parts of yourself would you say were formed by survival or responsibility?
Hypervigilance. And that's the first thing come to mind. Hypervigilance.
I can relate
Um,
to that.
knowing how to read a room came very, very early on in life. Um, the whole thing of knowing who to play with and who not to,
Hmm.
who to stay
Hmm.
distant from, and who to kind of navigate to. Yeah.
I would say that, and because hypervigilance is definitely strong, and I know that's like a pretty typical trauma response, right? Uh, I would also say for me, feeling overly responsible for other people's feelings, right? Constantly, like the hypervigilance would lead me to feel or to believe that what everybody else was going through, I had something to do with it. And if I didn't have anything to do with it, it was my job to have something to do with it.
Now,
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you good.
I can't say that I'm in that space of caring about how everyone feels. There were certain people who, um, number one, I may have been drawn to care about or had been given the responsibility to care about, especially familially. Um, Outside of that, and maybe where friendship lies, I don't be caring about people. And when I say I don't care, meaning like the thing of I'm not inundated with how people um experience me per se or how I'm treating them. Because for the most part, I'm respect forward. Outside of being respect forward, which I think has allowed me to navigate most spaces. Outside of that, I'm like, I can't say that I have a whole lot of care when it comes to other individuals' emotions and feelings and things.
Yeah, I feel that. And then that also kind of tracks too, right? Because when I said what was the role that you feel like you were kind of handed earlier, you said protector. And I said I could relate to protector, but mine was mother. And mother
Hmm.
has to. I've been groomed, right? Part of it is just kind of my natural personality. And then part of this was very careful grooming. I was groomed early in life to care about everybody's. And it started with my family and then moved out into my friends. And then it was just everywhere I went. And that's been something that I have been working really, really hard on releasing. And then what happens is when you play the mother role and you find yourself doing it everywhere you go, then people expect a certain care about what they feel. And then if they don't feel like they're getting it from you, well, how do people act? You know, when they feel like their mama ain't doing what they want mama to do. People have fits. People throw tantrums. People go off. People get disrespectful. People get distant. You know, people do all kinds of stuff. And I have spent a good chunk of my life um, managing other people's emotions to the point where I've gotten very careful now, where I'm like, nope, not mine. I've had to learn like very specific boundaries to understand, even when I could be very sensitive and feeling people's emotions coming up off of them. And I've had to learn like certain boundaries to even keep me from doing anything about what I feel coming off of people because it can be really, really overwhelming to always be in a space where, I, of course, I have my own emotions that I'm navigating, but then I'm also navigating all the emotions in the room. And then because of how I was raised, it was like, yeah, and you're supposed to do something about it. And I'm like, nope. That's why I get real sensitive. Like, I don't, some of that language. I don't like a lot of that language. You made me feel this way. You did. You because of you. I'm over here. No, no. You felt how you felt, my nigga. You felt that. That was your. Those are your feelings. Now we can talk about your feelings all day, but I don't even know how I caught that stray. I was over here doing me. You felt what you felt over there. I think, and I do think that a lot of that is survival, right? Because when you're kids, you really don't know, especially like, and I can't speak for you. I grew up in a very abusive household, so I never knew what was getting ready to happen, what was getting ready to make somebody turn up, right? I never knew. And so for me, it wasn't just the, oh, you might get a spanking. Oh, you might get a scolding. No, this could be, I'm finna get drugged for filth, physically, verbally, psychologically, you know, never knowing. So like when you talk about hypervigilance, I'm like, oh yeah, always been hypervigilant. And so then what am I doing? I'm the person that's sensitive to what everybody's feeling. So now I'm going to try to pay attention to the emotional temperature in the room. I'm like the barometer. I'm always sensing what is a person over here feeling, what you feel, what you feeling. Because I can feel these ripples. And every time I feel the ripples, I'm like, oh shit, I should do something about it. Because if I don't, this might come crashing down on me. And then I just went ahead and took that trauma and made it a lifestyle.
I think my biggest thing has just been being able to sense danger as early as possible and as from afar off as possible. And so, which has played a role in my home life as well as prison life as well. And so, me doing time, I didn't have time to see who was sad because everybody was sad. Nobody wanted to be incarcerated. Um, it was nothing about tears that I had to worry about. I had to worry about sometimes laughter. Sometimes I had to worry about anger, things of that nature. I had to worry about when it got too quiet. I had to worry about things getting too loud sometimes. Where is it coming from? Is that loud because someone's having a good time, or is that loud because something is happening in a particular section and it's about to roll over to where I am? And so I want to say that for the most part, I have not, I've had to be hyper vigilant to the point where not in fact, I could say in coming from an abusive household, leaving that space and going into prison, I would say that it trained me. The things that I went through in the home trained me for what when I went to prison. And so I knew what to look for. I knew to watch out for the quiet, the steps that I'm not really paying attention to, and notice every creak, every crack, everywhere. And so to this day, I still notice what's not being said. I have a tendency to read in between the lines. So much so to the point where it's hard for me to trust people because I read between their lines more so than I listen to them. I'm like, what are you not saying?
Yep. Uh, I think this might be one of those things where you're saying something very similar to what I said and saying it differently. Because the way I hear it, the reason why I'm so tapped into people's emotions and what I feel in the room is because, first of all, I'm not looking at emotions as just sadness. Anger is an emotion, right? That can definitely let me know if danger is in the room. If I
Absolutely.
miss if I miss a person's sadness and I don't clock it, that can quickly turn into anger because most black families aren't sitting around talking about their emotions. I certainly did not grow up in that type of family.
I
So
didn't either.
laughter could turn on you quick, right? And you got to be able to notice the shift. You got to be able to notice when a person goes from happy for you, looking up to you, to jealous of you. And if a person, and now once envy has entered the chat, you better know what's going on around you. So this has been something that has been for survival for me because understanding the emotions underneath the behaviors of people has had to that's what I've used to determine the danger. So I feel you on, understanding people's physical tells, right? Body language will give you a lot. And there are a lot of things, that a child who's being groomed to be a mother is going to pay attention to, because those little shifts can be a life or death thing. For instance, I used to work at this recovery center, and we used to have circles where the therapists would run, these therapy groups. And I don't remember what the prompt was, but it was something about religion, right? As soon as they asked the question, I felt it go up in the room. Now, it wasn't nothing being said, it wasn't a lot of movement, it wasn't a lot of facial expressions, right? A lot of times, Black people, we're not very, as much as they try to make it seem like all we do is coon and buffoon, a lot of times, you really have to be Black to understand our body language. Because if I looked around the room, on the surface, everything seemed calm, right? They asked whatever the question was about religion. And I was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Inside of me. I didn't even say it out loud. I was just like, oh goodness, this is getting ready to be something. And it was just because I could just feel it. I felt like the energetic shift in the room, and I'm like, ooh, okay. And next thing I know, there's a woman standing up. She yelling. She's pointing at the facilitator. She just started picking up her stuff's flying. I see a knife. Whoo, wait, we don't have metal detectors. This lady's carrying a knife around in a belt on her waist. And I'm like, wow, she just walked up in here with this. And I'm looking at the facilitator, non-Black, and he's in complete shock. And I remember when I was talking to my supervisor about it afterward, I was like, yeah, I saw it coming. And he's like, well, how? And I'm like, I felt it in the room. And I was trying to explain it to him. And of course, most people I've learned don't value emotions. They don't value, you know, people who are able to feel what other people feel. So he's just like, what? And I'm like, okay, let me use language you can understand. I can read the room, sir. I noticed, I observed, right? Because I think, in our world, we tend to value the tangible, the logical, more than we value the unseen. And he's like, wow, I just don't even understand how you were able to do that. He was just asking this question, I don't even understand. And I'm like, sir, I'm telling you, I knew we were getting ready to have a situation. So I feel like, there most kids, I think, who grew up in abusive families tend to walk away hyper vigilant, hyper aware of what's going on because, like we were saying, your survival depends on it. Um, okay. What have you had to unlearn about who you thought you were?
Everyone doesn't, I'm not responsible for everyone's protection.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. That's right to the point too. And you know what? Mine, I'm gonna meet you right there. I don't even got no damn kids. Not a one. I ain't nobody mama. Not one person. Okay, so what does coming home to yourself look like for you at this stage of life?
That question's not computing because you said home to yourself. And I may need your definition.
I don't need it. No, I don't want to give it a definition. Making yourself at home in yourself. What would that look like? Becoming. You seem to like that language.
Okay. What does becoming look like?
Jesus Christ. Yes.
It's about reevaluating what I think, what I believe. Um, scrapping that which is not useful,
Mm,
scrapping that which is not um it's not good for me, and cleaving onto that which is good.
dope. I think for me, coming home to myself is resting. Yeah, in every way. Finding opportunities to rest. Rest my mind, rest my heart, rest my soul, just resting. Taking advantage of every opportunity to rest. As I think with the hypervigilance, with the constant busyness of my mind, with that go, 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 go thing happening inside of me, which a lot of times it's just anxiety, right? So learning how to just rest. I don't gotta feel, I don't gotta do nothing. I don't even gotta be. I'm just rest. um, so yeah, that was it. I was thinking we would go into maybe attachment, but we already getting close to midnight, so I feel like we could just wrap it up. Unless there was something else you wanted to share.
No, I can't think of anything. No.
All right, we did it. Well, thank you so much, cousin, for joining me on this couch. And we want to thank everybody in the chat for spending time with us in our living room. We just completed our third episode of Two Cousins, One Couch. And I would just ask, Tina, did you have any closing remarks or anything you would like to share with our honorary cousins about family, the roles we inherited, unlearning, moving forward, and becoming?
I would say for the most part, don't be afraid to redefine um your role.
Hmm.
Um, there's nothing wrong with being a mother, a father, a sister, a brother. But at some point, those things change. You no longer have to be the one to um, wipe off the boo boo on your baby's knee. You don't have to be the one to kiss the forehead because they fell off the bike. We're growing and we're maturing. At some point, the roles may, um, the relationship may stay the same. You'll always be a mother, a father, a cousin, a niece, a nephew, a sister, a brother, a grandparent. But you may not always live in the same capacity, doing the same things that you've been doing for decades for people and with them. It's okay to redefine the parameters of your relationships with your family for your own benefit and for your own sanity. That's it.
Amen. Hey, when you're right, you're right. I don't have anything to add or subtract from that. So, again, to our honorary cousins, thank you for hanging out with us. If something stirred or resonated with you, feel free to share your reflections in the comments. Also, invite another cousin. We'll be back. I think, are we back in 2 weeks? I don't even know the date. I think we're doing this twice a month, right?
Hmm.
So, next time we do it, bring another cousin. We are discussing family topics. We are unpacking the stuff that we grow up with. What do we learn? I am very passionate about building stronger, healthier Black families. And so that's kind of what is behind this particular live cast. But if you have questions or topics you'd like for us to explore in the future, please let us know down there in the chat. And
Hey,
I invite
cuz,
you all. Yes.
I'm sorry. That's your auntie. I mean, your cousin. I'm talking about your auntie. That's your
Who's my cousin?
cousin.
Who's my
Joyce
cousin?
Woods. It's
Where
in
is
the
she? I don't see
chat.
her.
Oh.
Oh, your mom.
Yeah.
Where is she? I don't
Hold
see
on. I'm
her.
gonna put it up. Hold on just a second. Chat out. Look at that. Very interesting subject.
I wonder if I'm not seeing the same chat that you're seeing. Do you see
No, I
people that
see
I
the
can't
full
see?
chat. I see everything.
What
Hey,
do I
Danielle.
see?
I don't know. Wait a minute. Did I say the name? Yeah, that's Danielle. Hey, Danielle. Um,
Oh,
yep, she's
oh, that's
waving.
dope. Hey, I'm at your cousin's house right now, Janice. I love that. Oh, that's
It's
beautiful.
wild.
Well, did she want to say anything? Because I don't want to cut it off. I'm definitely trying to.
Mm-mm. No, she
Okay.
just waving to the people. I mean,
Okay.
waving to everybody, saying something. I don't know.
Oh, that's dope. That made me smile. Well, on that note, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember the couch is always open. And we will see you all very soon. Good night.
Bye.